Do you remember the high-octane highway chases and the unbreakable friendship between Ponch and John in CHiPs from 1977 to 1983? Those scenes defined the show, but behind the spotlight, many of the show's stars met heartbreaking and unexpected ends. Today, we honor the legendary cast of CHiPs and pay tribute to the legacy they left behind. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's go. Jim Brown as Romo. Jim Brown, born on February 17, 1936, was one of the greatest athletes in American history. When he was 43, he appeared on CHiPs in 1979 as Romo, a cold, commanding pickpocket on roller skates. Though just a guest role, it left a lasting mark thanks to Brown's powerful screen presence, a sports icon turned movie star. But behind the fame was a life filled with turmoil. Brown brought glory to the Cleveland Browns from 1957 to 1965, holding nearly every NFL rushing record at the time, averaging over 100 yards per game, an unmatched feat. He was an NFL champion, a three-time MVP, and an unstoppable force. Then, at his peak, he shocked the world by retiring from football to star in The Dirty Dozen, leaving sports glory behind for Hollywood. His film career was bold. Brown was the first black actor to lead as an action star in major films, including 100 Rifles, which featured Hollywood's first interracial love scene. But Hollywood also revealed his darker sides. Brown was arrested at least 7 times for assault, mostly involving violence against women. At one point, he was charged with attempted murder after a model was found below his balcony, but she refused to cooperate with prosecutors. Accusations of rape, assault, and vandalism followed him for decades. Marriage brought no peace. His first marriage crumbled under scandal, leaving behind 3 children, many of whom later cut off contact. A second romance fell apart before marriage. His final wife, Monique, once accused him of smashing her car with a shovel, leading to jail time. Children born afterward were raised in a cold Los Angeles mansion rumored to house sealed legal files and out-of-court settlements never revealed to the public. On May 18, 2023, Jim Brown died at his Los Angeles home at the age of 87. His wife was at his bedside when he passed from natural causes. Major figures like LeBron James and former President Barack Obama paid tribute. Brown left behind an estimated $50 million estate, mansions, championship trophies, film memorabilia, and a legacy both triumphant and controversial. Clarence Gillyard Jr. as Officer Benjamin Webster. Clarence Darnell. Gillyard Jr., born on December 24, 1955, captured hearts as Officer Benjamin Webster in the final season of CHiPs in 1982, when he was just 27. Calm and kind-faced, Gillyard brought a gentle energy to a season marked by transition. But CHiPs was only the beginning. At the height of his fame, scoring memorable roles in Top Gun, Die Hard, and the lead in Walker, Texas Ranger, Gillyard began feeling torn between 2 worlds, the glamour of television and the cracks forming in his personal life. His first marriage to Catherine Dutko collapsed amid rumors of infidelity and erratic behavior. By the late 1990s, his career had cooled. Whispers of a secret rehab stay damaged his image even more. Labeled difficult to work with, Gillyard lost opportunities, and producers kept their distance. At the same time, his relationship with his son deteriorated to the point where they didn't speak for years. Family life became a quiet wound that never quite healed. Turning away from the screen, Gillyard found redemption in teaching. He became an associate professor at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, devoting himself to students and theater arts. Colleagues described him as modest and frugal, partly because of a professor's modest salary, partly because his remaining assets were limited to film memorabilia and modest savings from Walker. His net worth was estimated at under $1 million. On November 28, 2022, Clarence Gillyard Jr. passed away at his Las Vegas home after a long illness. He was 66. To many, he was a talent left unfulfilled. To the few who truly knew him, he was a soul once broken, now at peace. William Smith as Michael Adams. William Emmett Smith, Jr., born on March 24, 1933, joined CHiPs in 1980 at age 47 as Michael Adams, a rugged, magnetic character. With over 200 roles spanning nearly 8 decades, Smith was once the embodiment of classic masculine toughness. But behind the strongman persona was a spiral few saw coming. By the mid-1990s, as Hollywood action films evolved, rumors swirled about Smith's erratic behavior at fan conventions, from angry outbursts to disturbing signs of instability. Tales of on-set fistfights, once admired, became red flags, and directors began to turn away. Marriage, too, proved fleeting. His first union ended quickly amid accusations of cheating. A second relationship also failed before it could find stability. Whispers of out-of-wedlock children from casual affairs circulated, but Smith never addressed them. Estranged from family, he spent his final years alone in a quiet home in Woodland Hills. At the time of his death, Smith's estimated net worth was around $2 million, mostly in vintage cars and collectible film memorabilia prized by fans. It wasn't a small sum, but it was all that remained after a Hollywood life once lived at full throttle. William Smith died on July 5, 2021, at the age of 88 in a hospital for film industry veterans. William Smith, the man who once broke a co-star's nose in a scene, ended his days in silence and solitude. Don Galloway as Stephen. Don Galloway, born on July 27, 1937, played Stephen in CHiPs in 1980, when he was 43 years old, a calm, principled character that mirrored Galloway's own demeanor in real life. With a trustworthy face and distinguished presence, he was a familiar name on American television throughout the 1970s and 80s. Yet behind that steady career lay years of sorrow and inner battles. Galloway quietly struggled with alcoholism, a condition he kept hidden for most of his life. His descent into drinking began during the height of Ironside, when pressure and attachment to the role made him feel increasingly out of control. The addiction shattered what he valued most: quiet divorces that left deep emotional scars and personal relationships that fractured over time. In a rare interview, he once said, "I knew how to convincingly play someone who holds it together, but I never really mastered that in my own life." After leaving Hollywood, Galloway lived quietly in Reno, Nevada, in an old home filled with memorabilia from his acting years. Day by day, he lived in solitude, with only a few old friends and longtime neighbors aware of his quiet sorrow. Though he was invited to reunion events, he always declined, citing health concerns. His family shared that most of his estimated $1 million net worth was tied up in his Reno house and a small plot of land in Kentucky, where he once promised to retire and read every afternoon. But he never got the chance. Don Galloway passed away on January 8, 2009, at age 71, after suffering a stroke. He was buried at Concord Methodist Church in his hometown of Brooksville, Kentucky, a peaceful place he had always longed to return to. Larry Storch as Franco. Larry Storch, born on January 8, 1923, appeared as Franco, a humorous character, in CHiPs in 1979 when he was 56 years old. With his unique charm, animated voice, and masterful impersonations, he brought laughter to audiences everywhere. But behind the ever-smiling face was a stormy life. Throughout his career, Storch battled a severe gambling addiction. By the 1980s, he was forced to sell his California home and auction off prized possessions to pay off gambling debts. Most of his income from films, comedy albums, and stage performances vanished into endless bets. Though he continued performing, major studios stopped calling. Some producers openly refused to work with him, citing his unpredictable behavior and financial instability. His marriage to actress Norma Grieve was not as peaceful as it seemed. Though they remained together until the end, Their relationship endured multiple cracks due to infidelity and financial strain. In a rare interview, Storch admitted, "Fame never taught me how to hold on to what truly matters." He had 3 children, including a daughter born out of wedlock whom he only reconnected with much later in life. In his final years, Storch lived quietly in a small apartment on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. His remaining net worth, estimated around $1 million, came from personal items, fan memorabilia, and modest residuals from old shows. He was honored by arts organizations, awarded a Navy Medal for his service in World War II, and remembered as one of the most distinctive comedians of the 20th century. On July 8, 2022, Larry Storch passed away at the age of 99. The official cause was natural, though according to the Washington Post, he had spent his final years battling Alzheimer's disease. Peter Marshall as himself. Peter Marshall, born Ralph Pierre Lecoq on March 30, 1926, made a guest appearance on CHiPs in 1979 when he was 53 years old, playing himself in a witty cameo that tapped into his fame as the iconic host behind countless game show squares. But beneath the charm and cheerful smile was a life filled with complexity. Marshall was long seen as television's clean-cut gentleman, sharp, funny, and scandal-free. Yet by the late 1980s, after stepping away from the Hollywood squares, rumors began circulating that he had used his influence to favor attractive young hopefuls in exchange for private loyalty. Some colleagues quietly hinted that Marshall used his close ties with producers to secure roles for personal companions. His personal life also saw its share of upheaval. A bitter divorce from his second wife became tabloid fodder when court filings revealed shady financial dealings and extramarital affairs. He married Laurie Stewart in 1989 and lived more peacefully afterward, but his relationship with his children, especially following the death of his son David from COVID-19 in 2021, was said to be strained and complicated. In his later years, Marshall lived in a mansion in Encino. Despite the controversies, he remained a savvy businessman, investing in California real estate and successfully monetizing his brand through nostalgic music albums, tribute shows, and memoirs. His estimated net worth at the time of his death was around $2 million. On August 15, 2024, Peter Marshall passed away at his Los Angeles home due to kidney failure. He was 98 years old. He was cremated, and his ashes were returned to his family. Cindy Morgan as Jennifer. Cindy Morgan, born Cynthia Ann Sikorsky on September 29, 1954, appeared on CHiPs in 1981 at just 27 years old playing Jennifer, a seductive, mysterious woman whose brief role left a strong impression. But behind that glamorous screen image was a life marked by heartbreak. Following breakout roles as Lacey Underall in Caddyshack and Laura Yori in Tron in the early 1980s, Cindy Morgan became one of Hollywood's rising sex symbols. But when she dared to speak out publicly about sexual harassment in the industry, something many peers avoided, her career took a dark and brutal turn. Contracts were suddenly canceled, film offers disappeared, and she became silently blacklisted. Morgan reported being stalked, receiving threats, and living in constant fear for years. Her personal life also bore scars. She was involved with powerful men in entertainment, but most of these relationships ended in betrayal or emotional abuse. Eventually, she withdrew from public life, living alone in a small home in Lake Worth Beach, Florida, surrounded by unopened fan letters, old newspaper clippings, and an unpublished memoir she feared would provoke retaliation from influential figures. She once organized charity events for American veterans, a quiet tribute to her father, a World War II veteran, but she rarely made public appearances. On December 30th, 2023, Cindy Morgan was found dead in her home at the age of 69. She was believed to have died of natural causes, but the more heartbreaking truth was that no one discovered her for over a week after her last sighting on December 19th. Her final Facebook post, shared on Christmas, was a gentle holiday message tinged with unmistakable loneliness. Her estimated net worth at the time of her death was around $1 million, mostly tied to her Florida home and remaining film memorabilia. Veto Scotty as Charles. Veto Scotty, born Vito Giusto Scozzari on January 26, 1918 in San Francisco, appeared in CHiPs in 1977 when he was 59 years old, playing Charles, a minor role, but one that showcased the grace and depth he had honed across hundreds of performances. Scotty was a master of transformation, often called the man of 1,000 faces for his ability to portray a wide range of characters: Mexican bandits, Italian chefs, Russian doctors, or mad scientists. But behind the ever-smiling face, he hid personal demons. One of the most haunting was a gambling addiction that once forced him to sell his home to pay off debts, despite having landed hundreds of TV and film roles, including a brief part in The Godfather, 1972. His greatest pain came from two sources: the death of his first wife, Irene, a flamenco dancer, in 1979 when she was just 54, and the emotional distance that grew between him and his children as he isolated himself, retreating into the past. In his final home, he lived quietly among film memorabilia, but without family by his side. There was also the 1955 accident when a panicked elephant knocked him down during a film shoot, leaving him with a broken arm and a concussion. As he aged, his health deteriorated due to lung cancer. Veto Scotty passed away on June 5, 1996 in California at the age of 78. He was laid to rest at Hollywood Forever Cemetery next to his first wife. Though he once earned well in the industry, his net worth at death was around $1 million, mostly from real estate and old royalty checks. Larry Lynville as Carlin. Larry Lynville, born Lawrence Levon, Lynville on September 29, 1939 in Ojai, California, appeared in CHiPs in 1979 when he was 40 years old, playing Carlin, a stern, disciplined figure who echoed his signature acting style: intense, uptight, and ready to explode. Though it was a brief appearance, the role reminded viewers of his iconic character Major Frank Burns from MASH. During his 5-season run on MASH, Lynville grew frustrated by how the role boxed him in, portraying a bumbling, shallow man with little growth. He refused to renew his contract, hoping for creative freedom, but that decision cost him. Hollywood turned its back, and his career stalled in forgettable supporting roles. His personal life mirrored that decline. Lynville went through 5 marriages, including a tumultuous divorce from his second wife, an artist, which the tabloids latched onto, exposing bitter arguments and public blame. Eventually, Lynville fell into depression, gripped by feelings of rejection and irrelevance. In his final years, he battled lung cancer and underwent surgery to remove part of his lung in 1998. But complications followed. Pneumonia set in and ultimately led to his death on April 10, 2000, at Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in New York. He was 60 years old. Larry Lynville's net worth at the time of death was estimated at around $1 million, primarily from property and remaining TV royalties. Simon Oakland as Bruno. Simon Oakland, born on August 28, 1915 in Brooklyn, New York, appeared on CHiPs in 1979 at the age of 64 playing Bruno, a tough, authoritative figure who couldn't be easily swayed. The role mirrored Oakland's real-life persona, commanding, intense, and filled with complicated shadows. Before acting, Oakland was a violinist. He began performing on Broadway in the late 1940s, earning acclaim for plays like The Shrike and Inherit the Wind. His shift to the screen brought even more recognition, especially for his chilling portrayal of a psychiatrist in Psycho, 1960, explaining Norman Bates's twisted mind. But off-screen, Oakland's temperament was just as daunting. Many in the industry considered him difficult to work with, limiting his rise despite a resume boasting over 130 roles. He was often typecast as cold military men, detectives, or authority figures, rarely allowed to show emotional range. His family life was also troubled. He married Lois Lorraine Porta and had a daughter, Barbara. But rumors spread that after Barbara came out as gay, Oakland severed ties with her, a painful and controversial decision in a time when society was still steeped in stigma. Simon Oakland passed away on August 29, 1983, just one day after his 68th birthday, from colon cancer. His final appearance aired months later on Tucker's Witch. At the time of his death, his net worth was estimated at around $1 million, mostly from real estate and television royalties. Danny Wells as Gordy. Danny Wells, born Jack Westelman on April 7, 1941 in Montreal, Canada, appeared in CHiPs in 1979 when he was 38 years old, playing Gordy, a comedic relief character who lightened the mood during the show's tense highway chases. But behind Gordy's smile was a man quietly sinking into depression and darkness. Wells began his entertainment career in the 1970s, quickly becoming known for his role as Charlie the bartender in The Jeffersons. He reached even greater fame as Luigi in The Super Mario Bros. Super Show, a beloved mix of cartoon and live action. These roles brought laughter to millions, but Wells's personal life told a different story. After stepping out of the spotlight, he spiraled into alcohol and drug abuse. One incident, where he was caught drunk in a voice studio, led to his firing from a cartoon production and marked a turning point in his career. He never recovered professionally. Unmarried and without children, Danny was involved in several short and toxic relationships. One ended in a harassment lawsuit filed by a younger actress, leaving a stain on the career he had fought to maintain. Whispers followed him through studios, and colleagues began to avoid him. Eventually, he withdrew from the industry and lived reclusively in Toronto. His depression deepened, cutting him off from both colleagues and loved ones. Those who had worked with him said he seemed stuck between past glory and present sorrow. His final battle came in the form of cancer. On November 28, 2013, Danny Wells passed away in Toronto at the age of 72. That same year, Nintendo celebrated the Year of Luigi, marking 30 years of the character he helped bring to life. His net worth at death was around $1 million, mostly from royalties and old real estate. But Danny's true legacy wasn't in numbers. Warren Berlinger as Bickle. Warren Berlinger was born on August 31, 1937 in Brooklyn, New York. At 41, he appeared in CHiPs in 1978 as Bickle, a comedic side character who offered light-hearted moments amidst the show's tense action. But behind the spotlight, his life was far from the warmth of the applause he once received. Berlinger began acting as a child, sharing the stage with legend Ethel Merman on Broadway. During the 1960s and 70s, he appeared in dozens of films and TV shows, from The Wackiest Ship in the Army and That Girl to The Shaggy DA and The World According to Garp. He was once called the man who gave depth to supporting roles, yet inwardly, he was being consumed by the very emotions he portrayed. Known for his perfectionism, Berlinger reportedly made excessive demands on set, including asking for a personal ice cream freezer near his dressing room. As tensions grew, colleagues distanced themselves, roles dried up, and some directors refused to work with him due to his negative energy. His golden era faded, leaving behind a lonely Warren surrounded by unread fan mail and discarded scripts. His personal life was no haven either. His long marriage to actress Betty Lou Keim, whom he married in 1960, began to unravel as Berlinger sank into depression and an eating disorder. He gained weight rapidly, became irritable, and was later described by his children in a leaked family letter as so hypersensitive he shut everyone out. After Betty's death in 2010, he lived alone in a house in Valencia, California. In December 2020, Warren Berlinger passed away from cancer at Henry Mayo Newhall Memorial Hospital. He was 83 years old. His net worth at the time was estimated around $1 million, mostly from his home and a memorabilia collection from his acting peak. Royce D Applegate as Roger Brown. Royce Dwayne Applegate was born on December 25, 1939, Christmas Day in Midwest City, Oklahoma. When he was 42, he appeared on CHiPs in 1981 as Roger Brown, a rigid, overly critical official who became a purposefully frustrating presence to viewers. That character, though minor, reflected much of who he was in real life. Royce began in theater and TV, but he found recognition as Chief Crocker in the first season of Sequest DSV. He followed with powerful supporting roles, including a troubled kidnapper in Different Strokes and General James Kemper in Gettysburg and Gods and Generals. He was a familiar face, but never the leading man. Friends said that reality left him with a lingering sense of being overlooked. Alcohol became both companion and captor. Royce once crashed into a director's mailbox while driving drunk, an accident that was both literal and symbolic. It marked a turning point that led to fewer job offers and professional isolation. He avoided the media, and in his final years, he all but vanished from public life. Some colleagues later disclosed he struggled privately with confusion about his own sexuality. In his solitary home atop Hollywood Hills, surrounded by Civil War antiques and unproduced scripts, Royce lived alone. On New Year's Eve 2003, a small fire, sparked by a smoldering cigarette, ended everything. He died just days after turning 63 in the house he once called his fortress of sorrow. No one discovered him immediately. By the time police arrived, only ashes remained. At the time, Royce's net worth was around $500,000, mostly from his aging home and some collectible items. A career cut short, relationships broken, a reputation faded, and ultimately, a death unseen. Jackie Vernon as Bird. Jackie Vernon was born on March 29, 1924, in New York. He appeared in CHiPs in 1977 at age 53 as Bird, a small role, but one that added a familiar warmth to the episode. Most Americans, however, remember him for a different reason. Jackie was the iconic voice of Frosty the Snowman, the beloved Christmas character who delighted generations of children. But Vernon's real life was a far cry from the joy he brought through Frosty. A popular stand-up comedian in the 1960s, he was dubbed the King of Deadpan for his dry, self-deprecating humor, so sharp it hurt. Offstage, though, he was a lonely man, battling alcoholism and fading slowly from public view. His marriage to Hazel Sawyer endured, but wasn't harmonious. Disagreements and declining health pushed Jackie further into isolation. Although he had 3 children, he spent most of his later life alone in a cluttered Hollywood home filled with old memorabilia and dusty tapes from his heyday. In his final years, Jackie struggled financially. His voice acting income couldn't cover his living costs, forcing him to sell possessions and rely on what remained of his modest home. That house eventually became his final resting place. On November 10, 1987, Jackie Vernon died of a heart attack at age 63. At the time of his death, his net worth was around $500,000, mainly from the value of his Hollywood home. The stars of CHiPs left behind unforgettable legacies, but their life stories remind us of the tragedies hidden behind fame. Which actor from the series touched your heart the most? And what memory from CHiPs do you still carry with you? Share your thoughts in the comments and help us celebrate these television legends.